Hey everybody! So I'm in a different room today, with a nice blue wall. It's not a blue screen; it's actually a blue wall. I do like this blue. Um, but today, going back in time, so the last video that talking about the life and times of my software engineering and development career, I went forward to around 2009. I did say, I just did that jump forward just to kind of get that story out there, but I want to go back again to the early days, and I'm going back to, I think it's 1999. And I may have jumped past this one briefly before when I was talking about another story. Actually, I'm holding it freehand, so I'll kind of let my arm go. Yeah, so I don't want to shake too much, but yeah. But I'm going to go back to 1999, even if I had gone past it before. So the second, this was the third role to be honest. The first role I had only was there for about 3 months because, to be fairly honest, it was a very small company. They did a very small chunks of code, but they didn't have any time to kind of train or teach a graduate, because very much so that when you graduate, you know how to code, but you don't necessarily know how to code as in regards to a career wise. It's always from a kind of education type of point of view. So I kind of, that role wasn't there for very long, and then I went to a big company for 18 months, and I left and went to the small company because I wanted to go back to a role which was predominantly just development, whereas the previous role before that with the big company, it was development and test, or test with some development. So I went to this company that it was pure development, right? So to set the scene, this company originally didn't write this software. They bought three products from a company in Australia, I think they were based. So before they bought the software, they were actually a reseller of the same software. I can't remember all of them, but one was like, they all run on UNIX. One was a print spooler, which is what I worked on. It was a network print spooler. One was a script or task runner, I think, and I can't remember what the third one. I think it was something to do with documentation. But I worked on this program, which was a print spooler. I'm not sure if this company's still around, to be honest. But this print spooler was used by quite a few big supermarkets at the time. I think Asda was one of them. And the idea was you had a central kind of printer place in the head office, and then all the stores would use this print spooler, which would then let you click the print button and it would go and print off in the main office, right? So the main head office. So it's network print spooler, which, remember back, this was 1999, so the internet was still, it wasn't as fully featured as it was now, should we say. You still had things like Links, was it, which was a CLI based web browser. I think it was just starting to get images and videos maybe at that point. I know. Anyway, I'm going off. I'm digressing a little bit, aren't I? So there was this product that was bought in from another company, and how it was written was about 50% of it was written in C, right, and 50% of it was written in script, Unix script, all run on Unix. No, there were failings with this one. This is like a how not to write code or bytecode. The failings was, first of all, there was no documentation. So whenever there was a bug, I'd spend a lot of time in DGX, which is a command line debugger, or was a command line debugger, on Unix. You attach it to the so basically you'd have, say, a core dumping. You'd attach the core dump to the and the code together, and then it would give you like the in the core dump was the the values that were in these variables. So that was one issue with this code, where you kind of had no documentation or structure, and you just had to kind of spend hours just stepping through a debugger. But the other no, and this is the main point of this, is it was written to support, I don't know, at least 5 or 6 Unixes I can think of. I know there was like HPUX, DGUX, Solaris, Sonos, Red Hat, because that was the predominant one at the time. I'm sure I'm missing some as well. There was some more. I think there was 7 or 8, and I can't remember them all. but it was written to support quite a number of Unix versions. So the script and the code had a lot of I don't know if you've seen it, but it was like a hash if. So it's like a hash if in the very, usually at the very beginning of C code, and it'd be like if GGUX, and then it had a block of code. If HPUX, and it had a block code. If Solaris, and it had a block of code. So the idea was that before it kind of ran, or in certain areas in the code, you would do this to make sure it ran a specific thing that was only relevant to that Unix OS, because each Unix actually had its own different little differences, nuances. Maybe the way it created files or read files or things like that. I can't remember all the details now. It's been a long time ago. But this is how not to write code. You don't want to write code that you have to have these very specific things in there, and supports multiple versions of operating systems. Now, we're kind of pretty lucky these days because, to be fairly honest, we're really only talking it running on Windows, Linux, and Mac OS, maybe, for example, or not talking about like Android and OS. What's the iPhone one? Now you tell me. I can't remember off the top of my head. But there are languages out there and tools like, for example, MAUI. Is it? I think it's called MAUI on C#, where you write the code and it supports multiple. You have to put in specific bits for the particular OSs if you need them, but most of it is like cross compiled. But even that's kind of a little bit going back to this. But the point is that if you're writing code, write it for an operating system. Don't try and support multiple operating systems, because you'll end up with issues. And we had lots of issues because of this multiple operating system design and code. So yeah, lesson learned, at least for me, don't write code to support 7 or 8 different operating systems. Just write it for one. You'll be a lot better off, even if you are cutting out a number of people. Or if you need it on 2, use some sort of a language that supports those OSs, but without having to have custom code. No custom code. Well, that's this week's story. Lesson learned for me. Hopefully you take something from that. Stay with one OS. Don't write over multiple operating systems. It's a headache. Okay, well, I'm going and look at Saturday. I've started putting LeetCode code exams. I'm learning Python again. It's been a while, and I'm doing LeetCode bits, and I'm putting that every Saturday. It's just code and music. There's no talking in it. So if you like that sort of thing, then check it out. Okay, then catch you all later. Bye for now.